UFC 296 takes place on Saturday the 16th of December in what will be the final card of the year. Now, while this has been a year stacked with some of the most terrible, mediocre cards throughout, we have never experienced the level of shocks that we have in a calendar year before. It's truly been the year of the underdog. The only question remains is who ends the year on top of the welterweight division. Thanks to every single subscriber who has joined me this year. I am grateful for every single one of you. My target was to hit about 250, so I'm blown away by the amount of you that have not only subscribed, but engaged in chat. Let's keep this going into 2024, where you're going to see a big step up in the level of content. Alright, so Randy Brown and Muslim Salikhov are buried arse deep into the early prelims. That's how good this card is. The majority of people are picking Randy Brown, who, let's be fair here, is a weight bully, and I can understand why the 6'2" frame and reach advantage is appealing here. I just don't really trust his chin much. He's also susceptible to fighters that have solid clinch games, which normally would be a concern. Fortunately for Randy, Muslim Salikhov seems to think he's a striker and has completely rejected his bloodline instincts, which is to dry hump his way to victory. I like this fight to go the distance if I'm betting on it, which I most certainly will not be, but if Randy stays safe, he should be able to pick at range to a comfortable decision. Pick the path with least resistance, Randy, and stay away from the flashy nonsense. Yeah, wait a minute, why isn't this one open in the card? You know what, whatever. To be fair, with some of the dross fight nights we've been served up with this year, even this one could have been a co-main on a few. So we've got the Michelin brothers here, the Lardy boys instead of the Hardy boys. Both these men have to cut to make 265 pounds, which is just wild for professional athletes. Not the one, but I will say that as bottom feeder heavyweights, these two cupcakes are at the top of the food chain. I'm going to take the over 2.5 here, as they are both pretty durable, but at heavyweight that's always a little bit of a gamble. So if you feel inclined to pick one fighter over the other, I'm going to side with Gaziev. They're both pretty sloppy volume strikers, but I'd argue that Gaziev has the better wrestling pedigree. This one is likely to be horrific fun, if that makes any sense. Alright, I'm not going to be betting on this one either, fuck that. And again, not to take the easy way out here, but we are about making money, so I'm going to be taking the over 2.5 on this one. Fili is more well-rounded, but would struggle to finish his dinner. Last 10 fights have seen the judges' scorecards 8 times. Worryingly, he's also had 19 fights in the UFC, with 10 wins and 9 losses. Usually that's a cuttable offense. Lucas Almeida on paper is more of a finisher, but his competition levels are not exactly stellar, and the Zellhuber loss doesn't look too bad in hindsight. I do think that Fili has the ability to take this to the ground if he wants to, which is why I'm slightly edging him. He is a Team Alpha male stable, and those guys can bring that option. And while I do think he's the better fighter, he's been involved in way too many split decisions and questionable losses to trust him here. The judges just don't seem to like this man, so for me the over is the way to go. Yeah, I don't like Cody Durden. The way he speaks annoys me, his face annoys me, and the general way that this guy seems to fuck with my money constantly annoys me. He always finds a way to massacre my parlays. One thing I will say about him though, is he is a relentless little prick. Think like Discount Marab. Imagine that. Ulanbekov should be the more polished striker, but Durden is on a roll, and even if I do believe that Ulanbekov can snap at range if he's smart and potentially stuff takedowns, Durden is like a dog with a bone at times. He's tenacious as hell, and if I'm laying money down, I have to go with the guy that I believe is going to bring the cardio and bring the pressure. This fight to go the distance is juicy as well, and to be honest, I do like that the most. I just have a feeling that Durden is going to dry hump the runt of the Dagestani litter for the better part of 15 minutes. Alright, on paper this does look like a good matchup, but when I really got to thinking and looking more into it, like, is it really though? There is potential for this to be a war. I do like Menifield a little bit. He's got some power, but looking into his record is where the problems start to unravel. He's got wins and a draw against Krut, and that guy is shocking. A win against Modzarov, who famously faked his record to get into the UFC, only to instantly get proven to be a complete fraud on national television. Funny shit. He also lost to William Knight, who I'm expecting to turn up with an Amazon delivery at some point. Another horrible loss. On the other hand, you do have Jacoby, who has a close loss to Khalil Roundtree, who everyone is sucking off so hard now for some reason, just because he fucking cries on command every 10 seconds, I guess. And he actually won that fight, really, in my opinion. He's the way more accomplished striker. He has a chin, and I like him to either win like a dominant decision or to finish Menifield late in the fight. After the year we've had, who knows what's going to happen in any fight, but you have to take Jacoby at these odds. Alright, this would normally be the part where I make some kind of sexualized joke and trivialize women's MMA again. But you know what, it's the end of the year and I'm turning a new leaf. I'm going to make an effort to break female fights down more seriously. They are professional athletes and they deserve our respect. Having said that, cake! Was nice of the UFC to throw in a shit break fight. I always appreciate that. Casey O'Neill wins this, I guess. She's shorter, but she's thicker and stronger, and she throws a hell of a lot more volume. Her takedown game is acceptable as well, and Lipski's just meh. This goes the distance with O'Neill just landing more and spending more time on top as the dominant pair of scissors. I'm sorry, I can't change now. It's just too late. Oh, Cody, you simple son of a bitch. We all know that it's over for this man being in main events, and no matter how hard the UFC tried to set him up with layups, we are never going back. It's honestly a shame. That win over Dominic Cruz was one of the best performances by a bantamweight contender in UFC history. Unfortunately for Cody, he is as dumb as a bag of hammers and has the worst chin on the planet. He was playing hide the cocktail sausage with Paige Van Zandt for a while there, so let's not have too much sympathy for the guy. I do think he is going to win against Kelleher, who has had some nice performances in the cage, but is clearly just here to be sacrificed. The irony of his chest tattoo in this situation is not lost on me. I can't bet Cody though at minus 200, so that's the dilemma here. Mark, what do I do? I can't play the distance either because they're both capable of knocking each other out, so I don't like that either. So I'm just going to take Cody, but I wouldn't bet on him at these odds. This one should be avoided. It will be fun though. I think someone's going to get chinned. Alright, this fight should be opening the card, and anyone fighting before probably feels incredibly mugged off, and rightfully so. When doing the pod with Antoine on Making the Walk, he called this fight on being the third of the card, and I felt like he was being very kind. Aldana spent 5 rounds and threw an average of a punch a round against Nunes, or it definitely felt like that. And Nunes was so disgraced to be in there with her for 5 rounds that she retired in shame on the spot. In fairness to Aldana, she has had some okay performances and is quite good at distance, so she should be able to comfortably ease to a decision over Rosa, who is nothing much to write home about either. I don't really understand the booking of this. We got our shit break fight already. The UFC is being overly generous here. This one 100% is going to a decision, and we're all going to be bored and annoyed sitting through this garbage. I hope I'm wrong. We know I won't be. Let's just move on. Alright, and when this fight was announced, I was actually leaning towards Michell. But to be honest, after discussing this at length with one of my favourite describers, I want to give a last minute shout out to Deshaun's 1-2s. I've completely changed my mind. He got into my head. I'm going to repeat what I said in the pod for those that missed it. I think Michell is going to end the night with his chin in the mat and his arse up in the air. He got dunked on hard by Topuria. He got hurt by Ige twice, who is powerful but not quite on the same power level as Emmett is. It's short notice for him too. I don't really love that. Emmett has decent takedown defense, and Michell likes to play on the feet a little bit too much. And if you play that with a little tank like Emmett that can smash, you're going to get chinned. I think Emmett's going to flatline him, and I'll say it again, I don't love that. I like Bryce, but I think this is going to be brutal. Emmett at plus 185 is way too enticing. Alright, this fight was cancelled, and I've been part of the brigade absolutely annihilating Ian Gary on Twitter over the past month. All in good banter, of course, but given that his son is apparently also sick, I'm going to totally lay off now and just wish him and his family a speedy recovery. Yes, Ian Gary is an embarrassment to the gender, but all trolling aside, this was one fight on the card we did not want to lose, and I'm actually very sorry that it's gone. I thought Gary would win, and word is that Holland might be the replacement. I'm not sure what the updates are on that one. It might be a little bit too late in the day to do that, but if it does happen, I'm going to take Luque to win that fight. Alright, loyal followers of this channel will know that I love Paddy Pimblett, in the same way that I love a thick rash coating my scrotum, but I can't even put this situation on him. Honestly, this matchup disgusts me and just illustrates how quick the UFC are willing to chew you up and spit you out when they're done with you. We live in a world now where a UFC legend like Ferguson is so cooked that he's entering as a plus 250 dog against a man that got slapped around by Jared fucking Gordon. It's sad, it's pathetic, it's unbelievable. Tony has looked worse and worse from fight to fight, and that's the only reason why this bout is taking place. The UFC want a Paddy win, and have probably told him to grab the mic and talk about how honoured he was to fight with and beat such a legend to get the fans back on his side. It's disgusting. Paddy's gonna win. I hope I'm wrong. It would make my night to see Paddy get smashed. I just don't see it. Alright, I'm gonna start by stating the obvious. Amazing fight. Shavkhat is the overwhelming pick here, and rightfully so, but at these odds, I can't encourage anyone to even use him as a parlay fluffer. My main reason for this is that while Shavkhat could make this a cakewalk by taking Thompson down and imploring some brutal molestation on the grounds or clinching and doing damage, I just don't know if he's going to do that. I think most likely he's going to keep this fight standing with Wonderman, and if you play that game with one of the best pure strikers in the UFC, there is more than a puncher's chance that you at least get clipped. He was hurt against ONeill, so after the year we've had with all the hype derailments, minus 650 is way too broad for me. I do like Shavkhat to win, of course, and if he does mix things up, he's going to kill this poor man. Gut feeling here is that it's going to be closer than people expect if this stays standing, so personally, I see no value here. Alright, this one is a little bit more straightforward for me. Brandon Royval is really good and worthy of a shot. He's earned it, but for me, he's just not on Pantoja's level. That upper echelon spot is reserved for himself and Brandon Moreno alone, and I just think that we're destined to see that title fight again in 2024. Now, the last time they fought, Pantoja made light work of Brandon, but I do expect him to survive a little bit longer in there this time. I expect a tentative first round, Pantoja to download the data, and then start piecing him up badly in round 2, and then in round 3, I expect Brandon, after being slapped around a few times, to get sloppy trying to find a footing in the fight, only to get chinned and choked out like a chicken on the ground. Pantoja's then going to grab the mic and call out ONeill, and everyone in the crowd is going to laugh at him. Alright, this is the fight for me that is the hardest one to predict, and considering how many close matchups there are on this card, that feels crazy to say. Now, I see this fight going one of two ways. Either Leon's going to stuff every takedown and absolute annihilate Colby to the body, wearing him down and picking him apart, or Colby spends the majority of the fight pressure clinching Leon, getting him down and doing damage on the ground. I'm going with Leon Edwards in this fight. Colby is not as bad a striker as everyone makes out. I'm going to die on that island by myself. However, compared to Leon, he is just awful. Colby was encouraged with his ability to trade in there with Kamaru, and I think that's given him a false confidence. Leon is way slicker standing, and I think if he rips to the body, which Kamaru didn't do as much, Colby is going to find his tank inexplicably being sapped, which will affect his ability to land a takedown and to apply pressure. I like both dudes a lot, but I genuinely think Leon is the best welterweight in the world right now, and he's going to be the final man to have his hand raised in 2023. Alright, so these are the weekend picks roundups. As you can see, the yellows are the ones I'm not overly confident about. The greens are the ones I'm very confident about, and the reds are like, hey, it could, pretty much be a coin toss, really. Really excited about this card. It won't be the last video I do this year. Obviously, I've got the reaction coming up. I've got a few videos in the pipeline regarding some content with some other creators, and also just a general look for a few video ideas that I think will be really good to close out the year, especially given the year that we've had. I'm also going to put a link in the description for Making the Walk MMA, which is a great channel. Head over there if you haven't already. I'm also going to link the pod we did into the windows at the very end of the video. So click on that one after you've seen this. It really is a good watch. I'm very proud of the work we did. So give it a look.